I've got a question for you. Thank you so much. Now, when we were on the phone a few weeks ago, you mentioned to me that there was quite an interesting result came out of that Gallup survey. Is that something that you can share, since you do have a few moments left now?
Sure. I think the most interesting result that we found in the Gallup survey is a number which we absolutely did not expect to find. We found that with respect to the happiness of the experiencing self. When we looked at how feelings vary with income. And it turns out that below an income of $60,000 a year for Americans, and that's a very large sample of Americans, like 600,000. So it's a large representative sample. Below an income of $600,000 a year.
60,000.
60,000. $60,000 a year, people are unhappy, and they get progressively unhappier the poorer they get. Above that, we get an absolutely flat line. I mean, I've rarely seen lines so flat. Clearly, what is happening is money does not buy you experiential happiness, but lack of money certainly buys you misery. And we can measure that misery very, very clearly. In terms of the other self, the remembering self, you get a different story. The more money you are, the more satisfied you are. That does not hold for emotions.
But Danny, the whole American endeavor is about, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. If people took seriously that finding, I mean, it seems to turn upside down everything we believe about, like, for example, taxation policy and so forth. Is there any chance that politicians, that the country generally, would take a finding like that seriously and run public policy based on it?
I think that there is recognition of the role of happiness research in public policy. The recognition is going to be slow in the United States, no question about that. But in the UK, it is happening, and in other countries, it is happening. People are recognizing that they ought to be thinking of policy, of happiness, when they think of public policy. It's going to take a while. And it's not going to, and people are going to debate whether they want to study experience happiness or whether they want to study life evaluation, so we need to have that debate fairly soon. How to enhance happiness goes very different ways depending on how you think, and whether you think of the remembering self or you think of the experiencing self. This is going to influence policy, I think, in years to come. In the United States, efforts are being made to measure the experience happiness of the population. This is going to be, I think, within the next decade or two, part of national statistics.
Well, it seems to me that this issue will, or at least should be, the most interesting policy discussion to track over the next few years. Thank you so much for inventing behavioral economics. Thank you, Danny Kahneman.